Hi, everybody, and welcome to Re Gault, which happened in 1967. This is one of my favorite cases because it has such wide implications for juvenile rights and juvenile due process. There was so much that was extended to juveniles in this case. So this was about an adolescent named Re Gault who was already on probation for previously stealing a woman's purse. The actual case at hand focuses on Jerry and a friend who had been making prank phone calls to other people, to just random people while their parents were at work. The recipient of the phone calls was an elderly woman, and she was not pleased to be on the recipient end of these, which she said were obscene phone calls. So she called the police, and she identified who she thought was responsible for these prank phone calls, and Jerry was arrested. The police came to his house and arrested him while his mom and dad were at work. At no point did they contact his parents or notify his parents that he had been arrested or taken into custody. And when the parents came home, they found an empty house and Jerry's younger brother. And they said, "Hey, where's Jerry?" And his brother said, "I don't know." And so they sent him out looking for his brother. And what they found out from a neighbor is that the police had come to the house and arrested Jerry and taken him away. While the parents are trying to find where their son is and what happened to him, the police already began to file a petition for juvenile court proceedings. Again, without notifying the parents. The proceedings were completely informal. The accuser, Mrs. Cook, who received the calls, was not present to testify to what happened. There was no transcript of the proceedings, and nobody was sworn on record. And that last part probably sounds not terribly important and maybe just sort of like red tape, but it's actually very important. Because anytime we have a court proceeding, whether it's for an adult or a child, or in civil litigation, there has to be a record of court proceedings. If there's no record, if there's no transcript and there's no record of what happened, then essentially we have no idea what actually took place behind closed doors, which makes this, for all intents and purposes, a secret proceeding. And here in the United States, we don't have secret trials. We let dictators of other countries do that, but we don't do that. There must be a transcript. There must be a formal record. Now, let me just give you a little bit of context here that were Jerry an adult, and had he been accused of this action, and had he been convicted in an adult court, his consequence would have been $50 and possibly 2 months in jail, although I think the jail time would be highly unlikely. I also want to let you know what Jerry said on the phone call. He called Mrs. Cook and he said, "Show us your bombers." Now let me tell you what happened to Jerry as a result. He was adjudicated delinquent, and he was given 6 years in juvenile detention in a secure facility where he would live until the age of 21. So for this phone call, this prank, this ridiculously adolescent phone call, he lost 6 years of freedom. He was removed from his parents, his home, his school, his friends, and made to serve out all 6 years. It's mind-boggling what happened to this guy. So Jerry's parents petitioned all the way through the appeals process, all the way up to the Supreme Court of the United States, who granted certiorari to hear the case, and they argued that their son's due process rights had been violated. They argued specifically, Jerry was never given representation. He wasn't given an attorney. His parents were never contacted to tell them, "Hey, we've arrested your son." And what's worse is Jerry and his parents were never told what he was arrested for. He was never given notice of the charges. In addition, he wasn't given the right to remain silent. He was interrogated by police, at which point he admitted to the prank phone call, probably because he thought, okay, yeah, I made a prank phone call, not that big of a deal, having no idea this could get him 6 years of freedom revocation in a secure facility, right? But that is what happened. So he wasn't guaranteed his right to remain silent, and he was denied his ability to confront and cross-examine the accuser. The person who's making accusations of the crime didn't even show up to the proceedings so that they could be questioned by Jerry's representation, the judge, or anybody else. So ultimately, Jerry's parents said, "Hey, if you're going to take our son's freedom, and if the juvenile justice system's focus is acting in parents' patriae, acting in the best interest of the child, as a parent would, is revoking their freedom without extending them any due process rights in their best interest? Obviously not. Obviously it's not. Certainly if we are going to threaten their freedom and take away their freedom, they should be levied every single civil right that we can give them and protect them. We certainly shouldn't be giving more rights to adults than we are to juveniles, because that's the antithesis of the juvenile justice system. And ultimately, the Supreme Court agreed with them. And the Supreme Court said, look, if we are going to deny a juvenile their freedom, their home, their adolescence, then they have the right to remain silent. They have the right to notice of the charges. The parents need to be notified. The child needs representation. And the accuser has to take part in this. They can't just make a call to the police and stay home and not show up in court and, have this kid go to a secure facility. So ultimately, we extended those Fifth and Sixth Amendment due process rights to adolescents who are accused of delinquency. Now, sad ending to this case. It's sad and not sad. I mean, not sad because Jerry Gault's sacrifice provided millions of juveniles with real due process rights, which is an amazing thing. But unfortunately, the appeals process takes so long to go through that by the time he got to the Supreme Court, by the time they ruled, it was a few months after Jerry had already been released. So he did, in fact, serve his full 6 years. He lost his entire adolescence to one prank phone call and, unfortunately, an absence of due process rights.